Thank you, Larry.
All right, folks, joining me now, we're going to go back to Kevin Warsh. We're going to start with Art Laffer, former Reagan economist, and we've got Michael Faulkner, former Deputy Treasury Secretary. Arthur, I wanted you to begin our discussion of the Kevin Warsh nomination, which I hope and believe will be transformational. What do you think?
I think it will be transformational. I've known Kevin Warsh for a long, long time. He's absolutely perfect for the job. And, you know, there's some real reasons here. He'll stop mission drift of the Fed, which you mentioned in your riff, and I think it's just completely correct. Plus, he understands the price rule. You know, the Fed has always thought they should lower interest rates by buying bonds in the open market, thereby bidding up the price and lowering interest rates. But that's not true because it expands the balance sheet. And when you expand the balance sheet, you raise inflationary expectations and interest rates actually go up. If you want to control interest rates, what you need to do is you need to sell bonds in the open market, contract the balance sheet, and that will bring inflation down. This is the Volcker way he did it. This is a price rule. It's the right way to do it. So Warsh understands that perfectly. But the last thing's going to surprise you, Larry, why I'm really happy. I was terrified that if Kevin Hassett got this job, the president would be left without a great chairman of the National Economic Council. Kevin Warsh has a great relationship with the president, has been enormously influential in the White House, and I think he's done a spectacular job there. Kevin Hassett has, and I'm really glad he's going to be there with the president going forward.
Well, I think it's a great team. I mean, the president has been very complimentary to Kevin Hassett, deservedly so, at the NEC.
Yes.
You've got a very wise, even-handed Treasury man, Scott Bessent, doing a great job at the Treasury Department. And I think they'll work well with Kevin Warsh. Instead of being at war with the Fed, I think they can work cooperatively with the Fed, which is how the damn system's supposed to work in the first place, not having a war. You know, Mike Faulkner, come back to what Arthur's saying, because I think it's so important. It's something that Kevin Warsh has written about. He has said so here, you know, in various interviews with me and others. Printing less money will bring down inflation. And bringing down inflation will bring down interest rates. A leads to B, B leads to C. You know, we used to understand that. They sort of lost track of that with all these quantitative easings, which did no good whatsoever. The path to lower interest rates is less money and lower inflation. And that's one of the transformational models that I think Kevin Warsh hopefully will resurrect as Fed chair. What do you think about the potential for that?
That's exactly what I'm hoping for as well. As you said in your riff, we need a chairman of the Federal Reserve who is going to tell Congress that the Federal Reserve is no longer going to monetize their out-of-control spending, because it's the increase in the money supply that put all of that money out into circulation that led to the inflation in the first place. It was the willingness of Powell to cheerlead Biden's excessive spending and then provide something like half of the funding came from increasing the size of the Fed's balance sheet. Kevin Warsh knows that he's got to go in there and put a stop to that. And also, I agree with Arthur that Kevin Hassett will continue to well serve the president at the Federal Reserve. I think it's critically important that Secretary Bessent have somebody he can work closely with, because we do need to have collaboration between the Treasury and the Fed to make sure that we're not overly reliant on the Fed all by itself to curtail inflation. We need the Fed and the Treasury working together to implement regulatory policy, regulate monetary policy, and chastise Congress when necessary on fiscal policy, so that all three levers are working in collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Art, there's a bunch of points here worth pursuing. I know. Faulkner's the best of the best, isn't he? So look,
he's the best. I mean, I love what he says, and the way he says it is just so perfect.
He's terrific.
It's great.
So you know, one key point, you know, Kevin Warsh accurately predicted that when Jay Powell went to the Hill in 2021 and signed off on all the Biden spending, that and you know, bloated their balance sheet, buying bonds left and right, that it would lead to high inflation. And guess what? We had the worst inflation in 40 or 50 years. Okay, Warsh nailed that. I mean, he said it publicly and he said it many times. Now, Art, you know, you worked in the OMB years ago. The Federal Reserve should not be at war with the White House and the administration. They should have friendly relations, okay? I mean, look, the NEC director has lunch with the Fed chair once or twice a month. The Treasury Secretary, if I'm not mistaken, Mike Faulkner, has a lunch or breakfast every Friday with the Fed chairman. So there's supposed to be, you know, a congeniality here, but when you look at what's happened with Jay Powell, it's a war. And what good is a war? How does that help the American people? How does that help the American economy? I mean, apart from all the models, just that one issue. You're supposed to work cooperatively inside the government for the benefit of the public and the economy, Arthur. That's been missing in the Jay Powell years.
It has been missing, but also you don't want them to work well together on a bad model, Larry. And they've had a bad model at the Fed for a long time. Growth does not cause inflation. It does not. If you have more goods available in the same amount of money, the price of goods goes down. If you have a bumper crop in apples, the price of apples falls. If you have a bumper crop in money, the price of money falls, inflation rises. It's just simply, and when economic growth is the answer to all of these problems, for the first time, I think we're going to have the Treasury and the Fed working together. And the nice thing about Kevin Warsh is he's been there before, Fed. He knows where the men's room is. He knows where the kitchen is. He knows all the players. And he's a very affable person. He's not hostile. He's not aggressive. He gets along with people. And he will be very persuasive on the Fed board to bring them in line for good economic growth. This is the most exciting news I have heard in ages. I can't tell you, Larry, how optimistic I am about the future because of Kevin Warsh and Kevin Hassett working together with Scott Bessent. What a team. I mean, it's the A-League all the way.
You know, Mike Faulkner, just on the way out, last point, buying all those bonds, basically the Federal Reserve with QE, it's really a quantitative easing thing going back to the financial meltdown. Basically, the Fed financed big government socialism. Basically, all the spending, you know, you and I were talking this morning, huge budget deficits every year, $1 trillion, $1.5 trillion, $2 trillion budget deficits. Basically, the Fed was funding all that stuff out of their own portfolio, and they shouldn't have been. And it did no good at all. We didn't get growth, we did get inflation, and we did get high interest rates. I mean, it completely backfired. It's a chapter in economic history that I hope we do not repeat, and I hope that Kevin Warsh repeals. QE didn't work, period. Full stop, Faulkner. That's what I'm saying.
That's absolutely right. And so one of the most important missions of Kevin Warsh is to replace a lot of the Fed economists with people who actually believe in growth and productivity improvements. We are on the cusp of a sustainable increase in productivity. And will we have economists at the Fed who update their models to recognize that, as Art said, we can have increases in growth without inflationary pressures? We just need to make sure the Fed doesn't battle the growth that Trump's policies are going to unleash.
All right, well, he will get Warsh. He'll get 2 more, actually. He'll get 2. 4 out of 7. Who knows how